My little sugar woogers. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning to you. How are you today? Come on in. Bring a friend. Let's chat for a little while. I'm still out here on my new laptop, trying to get it together, learning all about it. And Miss Audrey is in the building already, and she is saying good afternoon. Well, Central Standard Time here in H-Town is still morning. But good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Well, it might be even a good night for some of you. But hello, hello, hello. How in the world are y'all doing today? Great, I hope. So this morning, I'm running a little later than normal, but I'm on my time today. And for those of you who are coming in, we're going to talk about standing alone, surviving this chaotic world that we live in. We're going through some transformative times in our life right now. Probably the most chaotic times that we've experienced here in history. This being Black History Month, I thought it was a good time for us to talk about it. Standing alone is not a defeat. You're actually elevating when you can stand alone. It's my belief that God is taking you to places that you probably have never been before. And it may be a little scary for some. For others, maybe they've been going through this all the time and it doesn't really phase them. Just know that you are being molded and sculptured to be the best you can be, to do the best you can do. No one should really rely on anybody else. We've been talking about being independent, being able to move on with your life and not let anything that comes your way really disturb you. When you find yourself with no support system, everybody has gone on and moved on, it's okay. It's okay. Because that is the time in your life when you figure out who you really are and what you can really do. At that moment in time, you are being pushed to your growth potential. Standing alone, again, is not a defeat, it is elevation of strength. It is your defining moments in your life. If you can be pushed to the edge and you're there looking over, yet you don't fall, that is when you know you're able to move along without anybody. Never let anyone stop you on your journey, on your growth, on your elevation in life. You can defeat all odds by yourself. If you look back in history, those people who stood alone but may have had followers that thought like them, they elevated to their fullest potential. And we're going to talk about some of those people here today, since the month of February has been chosen as Black History Month. I never have looked at it as just that's the only time we can talk about Black history or people who have done things to be celebrated in Black history. You're Black every day, 365 days a year. You just don't accomplish things in the month of February. You really do things all year long. Whether it's an achievement to others, it may be an achievement to you. Set your plans for yourself. We've talked about goals. Setting goals for yourself in the new year. And I don't know how many of you actually stopped and did that. And it really, really doesn't matter because that was a goal for you. Everybody's goals are going to be different anyway. But it was what you felt like you could accomplish this year. So, with plans set, hopefully, when everything is falling apart and you feel like you're at rock bottom, you don't know which way to turn, you don't know which way to go, stand still. The race is not won by the swift. It's not always how fast you get there. It's getting there is a thing that you need to keep in mind and always have consideration for. Serving alone is when you will see growth. When I look back in history, talking about Black History Month, serving alone, I found a lot of people that are not much talked about during Black History Month. We normally talk about the same people over and over and over, but I found a few that really sculptured the world that we now live in. Garrett Augusta Morgan was one of the country's most successful African Americans. He discovered the traffic signal, something that is still around and is used every day because of the amount of people that are in the world today. Sometimes you need that traffic signal to bring you to a stop, or everybody would just be running into everybody. And he also discovered the gas mask, which is still important today because of the amount of toxins that are in the air that have been created by man. Another significant person of Black history is Carter G. Woodson, an historian who opened up the field of African American history to scholars that are now telling the story through what Carter G. Woodson began many, many years ago. He is also known as the founder of Black history. Did you know? There is also a National Park Service named for him. He led the establishment of Black History Month as we now know it. Yet you rarely hear his name being called. Ella Barker, a strong, determined Black woman who fought for voting rights, yet we take voting for granted. We just had an election, and we're still of that mindset that our vote doesn't count. I've said it before, you're right. If you don't vote, it doesn't count. But yet, people fought for this right, and we take it for granted. Let us stop doing that in the future. And remember the name Ella Barker, who fought for your voting rights. And remember, when it's time to vote, that's your right. We don't often know a lot about Black billionaires other than the ones that are pretty famous in athletic careers or the music careers. But there are other people in this world who are quiet about their achievements, their accomplishments, and their financial wealth and gain. Aliko Gato is the world's richest Black man, according to Forbes. And his name is rarely mentioned. Benjamin Banneker, who invented the first functioning clock, something that you use every day to know what time it is. I can look at the right side of my computer and I can see that it's 11:24 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's important to me for many reasons. To know how long I've been on here, to know when it's time to move on with other things I may have to do throughout the day. But we haven't always had a clock. People had to look at the sun straight up was 12 o'clock and try to tell time by the sun. I found with working with autistic children, a lot of times they know what time it is by the programs that come on television. And they know approximately what time it is. So as we continue on, we always will remember Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and Rosa Parks because they kind of paved the way through history for us to have the freedom we have today. They put their lives on the line for you and I to have the opportunity to do anything we choose to do today. They can never be overstated or overrated. Yet they fought for freedom for us to have. So let us not take it for granted as a Black person and be a crab in the bucket with a crab in a bucket mentality. I'm going to pull you down was not their ideas when they were fighting for freedom for all. What they were fighting for then has come to a somewhat of a halt in 2025 because as you live through it, you see that what they fought for is not about to come to an end, But the people that we have placed in office by voting them in are now trying to take that right and that freedom away from you. Thurgood Marshall was America's foremost attorney as chief of the NAACP, legal defense, a school of law, has been named in his honor at Texas Southern University here in the Houston area. So we have to give him credit where credit is due. A lot of the Black lawyers now are lawyers because of his fight in the legal system, in the Justice Department, for us to have freedom again. We had women also, most definitely. I just named one, Rosa Parks, who refused to take the back seat on the bus. But she wasn't the only one, nor was she the first one. Women have definitely played a role as unsung heroes, dating as far back as the Civil War. You may not have ever heard of Elizabeth Van Bleur or Mary Bowser, but they were spies for the Union. By overhearing conversations of the Confederate officers and soldiers who were around them, who helped us gain our freedom. Of course, Martin Luther King Jr. was the most powerful Black activist in American history and should never be forgotten. His personal life had nothing to do with him getting up every day, going down to Ebenezer Baptist Church, preaching the word, and taking that word to the street to free all of us. The question is, who is the Martin Luther King of today? Do we have one? Just a question. Did you know that Princess Sophia Charlotte was born in 1744? And she was the first Black queen of England. England has not always been what it is today, obviously, if she was the first Black queen of England. Let's come on up to our times and speak about Halle Berry. Halle Berry was one of the first Black women to date to win the Best Actress Oscar. It saddens me that we haven't had another one. And she's been around for many years now. The richest Black family, Black American family, with an estimated net worth of $11.4 billion is David Stewart, who grew up in the segregated South. Father was a mechanic, a janitor, and a trash collector. So do not let where you came from be your whole life's journey. He's a prime example that you can elevate yourself. You can stand alone and you can do great things, probably better than having a multitude of people hanging on where you're trying to go in all different directions and you're not being able to lead your own life. follow your own dreams, and become the best and the most that you can be. We have a lot of wealthy rappers today from the music industry. Jay-Z and P. Diddy, Puff Daddy are the richest black rappers. Now, I don't know what P. Diddy's wealth is today after the trouble he is in. But before going to prison, he was one of the wealthiest in the music industry, following Kanye West, Russell Simmons, Drake, and Pharrell Williams. Yet they have a world of controversy that surrounds them. It just goes to show money ain't everything. And money can make you just as sad as it can make you happy. Do you think for 1 minute that any of these people's names that I've called, with all of the money that they have, if they could give it up for freedom, if they could give it up for just a peaceful night's rest, what do you think they would do? Peace, happiness, and joy is better than all the money in the world. If you've never had it, if you've never had any money other than just the little money that you work for every day and you weren't able to save it and you weren't able to invest it, maybe you might think, I don't believe that. That's not true. I wish we could ask them and see how they really feel about it. What is their truth now after making millions of dollars? Jay-Z himself, and these are estimated values of their worth, is worth 2.5 billion. P. Diddy was worth 900 million. Dr. Dre, 500 million. Kanye, 400 million. Russell Simmons, who's fled the country, 340 million. And Pharrell Williams, 250 million, just to name a few. Moving on, then major reputation stems from his service as a surveyor of a six-man team, which helped to design the blueprints for Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. President Washington, first president of the United States, made him the first Black presidential appointee in the United States. Did you know? Thomas Jennings was the first Black man to be granted a patent. He was born in 1791. Look how far we've come. He also served in the civil rights movement. We rarely hear of these people if they're not popular in our time. And we most often hear of Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, maybe Malcolm X, and a few others. We have so many people in history to be thankful for. Our forefathers who paved the way for us today. Our ancestors carved the path for our freedom to be anything you want to be. Now is the time, people, for our lives to reflect and take a look at ourselves versus others. What have we accomplished? What will our name stand for? What will be your legacy? What is your purpose for being here? Have you ever stopped to think about it? Probably not for most, unless you're in that aging bracket where you're looking back over your life now and you're reflecting on your life, where you've been, how you got there, the enjoyment you had, maybe the money you made. And are you happy at this point in your life as an elder, as a senior, as an accomplished person? Are you still fighting that war within yourself to convince others, knowing deep down inside it was a horrible life? It was a struggle. Can you admit it? If you were born in the 40s, don't even mention the 30s. Sometimes I look back and I think those people might have had a better life than we've had. Why? Because they were sincerely together. Like Wall Street, they were together. That's how they made it. It's harder to stand alone and make it, but in most cases, it's better to stand alone and make it. You don't owe nobody nothing when you do it alone and by yourself. It's okay to help others. But in this day and time that we live in, people are not appreciative. They do not care about you. We become a selfish race of people. We're all about me, myself, and I. We're not too loving, we're not too kind, and we're quick to turn on each other. That's a slave mentality. Sad but true in 2025. If you're not living at this point in your life, your living is probably in vain. You should have a good day every day on purpose. Black History Month is dedicated as the month of February. It is my belief that every day should be a day that Black people make history. How much of it is being recorded in today's history? It was never in a textbook that I read when I was in school. We got to go out and we got to do something great starting today. Live your life purpose driven. You only get one. So live it to the fullest. There will be, always will be naysayers. They will always be there in your life to disrupt. Don't listen. Don't let it bother you. Don't let it affect you. Keep going. Be a standalone person. When times get rough, when times get hard, it's okay. When people try to drag you down, if you know who you are, it's okay. Keep pushing. Keep going. Only the strong will survive. You were born with a plan and a purpose. Fulfill your dreams. Be unstoppable, immovable, steadfast, and abounding in His word. No one stops you but you. Have the faith the size of a mustard seed and run your race. Nobody else's but yours. We all created uniquely different. People are not in control of your life. You are. Don't allow anyone to control your destiny. Do what you can do to help others, but don't allow them to drag you down to their level. In these days and time, people come into your life for what you can do for them. If you stop and you look at it, there's not much they're doing for you. You're doing the most. You're using a lot of energy, providing, protecting, promoting them. But you have wasted a lot of energy when you don't see that handwriting on the wall and their purpose for being in your life. You have an option. You can stay there or you can move away. Do what's best for you. Be all you can be. It is the standalone people who have made history. Look at each and every one of them. They didn't get the credit for what they did with a lot of other people signed by their name. They got the credit on their own. Their support came from people who were like minded and wanted more for themselves as well as others. But yet, they were the founders, they were the leaders. Too many followers in the world. What are you following? What are you accomplishing from following it? What is it doing for you? These are the questions you should be asking yourself. If you don't stop at some point and realize what are you getting out the deal, you'll forever be a follower. You will never become a leader. You don't have principles to stand on. You don't have morals. You don't have character. You don't have judgment. What is your purpose for being here? What are you doing for mankind? How are you promoting anything that's not making any money for you? It's making money for the other person. So you are supporting somebody that is getting rich and richer. It's just like the music industry. We supported those people. That's how they got there. And they were smart enough as businessmen to get off into other entities that help build growth. But again, you don't see anybody's name attached to theirs, but their name. Now, however they got there, that's the business. We will probably never know, really, because if you listen to some of the music that they put out there, they should have never got there. But that is what I'm saying. There will always be followers, and people are uniquely different. So, therefore, we all don't like the same thing in nothing in life. I may not like the food you like. I may not like the music you like. I may not like the clothes you have. I may not like the car you drive. I may not like the house you live in, and vice versa. And where is it written that we have to? That's yours, and this is mine. That's a mature way of looking at life itself. Wouldn't it be a boring world if we all were the same? If we all just had the same thing in life, that would be so boring because you're looking at me and I look just like you. I got the same thing as you. There's no taste, there's no diversity. We're all one and the same. We weren't even created to be that then. Everybody was uniquely formed with a brain and five senses. How much of your brain are you using every day? There are a lot of questions that I have every day about where I am in life. What do I want to do? What is my purpose driven life? And how am I going to let others affect my life and my journey? I'm not. It's nobody's business but mine. It's nobody's business about your life but you. Do not be dismayed. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about nothing. If you worry, then you have very little faith in yourself as well as God. So, how could you believe in Him but yet worry about everyday life? Where you are is where you have allowed yourself to become and who you have become. Deal with it, live with it. If you're okay with it, that's the confidence you have within you, and you'll be all right. All right, I'm not going to stay on here for a long time because I got things I have to do, but let me speak to everybody. Good morning, Sting. How are you? Hey, Miss Audrey, Miss Cynthia, gospel singer. Good morning to you. Happy Wednesday to you, beautiful queen. Right back at you. Miss Joy, Miss Latina, and to all of you in the bushes, thank you for coming over and listening this morning. Hopefully, we have kicked off Black History by starting to talk about Shaq first. Now we've come and we've brought out a few of the people who are not as well known, but they brought things to the world that we use every day and that are very well needed. So we'll be coming back later talking about other Black people who have contributed. And hopefully one day your name may show up in lights of something that you contributed or your family member or a friend has contributed other than a tear down, a bashing, a dislike, a hate, some envy for your own race of people. Y'all have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll talk with you later. Much love. Hit the like button on the way out. Like, share, and subscribe. And I certainly appreciate each and every one of you. Goodbye.